Anthony Richardson is about to take over the NFL. The fourth overall pick to the Indianapolis Colts in the 2023 NFL Draft had his season cut short a year ago. He got hurt week 5 against Tennessee Titans and never came back. So why are people sleeping on him? That's a big part of it, but we're going to dive into the root of those reasons. What other reasons are there? Why would you doubt a guy who is the most athletic quarterback we've ever seen, the biggest quarterback potentially we've ever seen with that kind of athleticism, and a guy who has an elite arm? Let's talk about it. So here are the main reasons why Anthony Richardson right now is being slept on by everyone. When you talk about real NFL guys, they don't love what they see from Anthony Richardson, and a big part of it is he only played in 3 full games last year. The Texans game in week 2, he basically just played a quarter before getting a concussion within the first 5 minutes of the game. The durability due to his play style and the injury history has been a big part of this. He has been hurt a lot for a guy his size, but his injuries at Florida were more soft tissue or nagging things like a hamstring or an ankle. Those are a lot of times fluky, and they happen to pretty much every single quarterback, but last year was definitely troubling. He had a concussion on a cheap shot as he was jogging in the end zone against the Houston Texans in a game that he was frankly dominating, which we're going to get to here in a minute. But that one, plus the one that pretty much ended his season, the shoulder injury, was one that was for sure avoidable. It was an opportunity for him to get down, slide, not take a hit. Instead, he tried to run someone over, took a hit, landed on his shoulder. Season is over. That's what happened initially. The other big knock and the huge criticism that you hear from pretty much everyone, and I understand it because it happened during his time at Florida as well, the accuracy. The accuracy has been a troubling part of his game for a long time. He only completed 59.5% of his passes as a rookie, and a lot of those throws were erratic. When you watch him play, there are times where he misses open guys, where he throws the ball too hard, where he just tries to make the spectacular play. But I would also say that the weapons that he had a year ago are a little bit different than what he had this year. All of these things are perfectly fine to point out. I understand the reasons why there are concerns about Anthony Richardson, but you're missing the real takeaway from last year. The dude is just flat out really good at football. In his first start against Jacksonville, he was 24 of 37 for 223 yards, a touchdown and interception, while being sacked 4 times. He had 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown as well. That was his first ever start in a divisional game, and he played pretty well. Now, one troubling part is he almost got injured in that game as well, taking too many hits, but at the end of the day, he was a guy that I think when you saw that first game, you saw him truly lead a team to a potential victory in a huge AFC South matchup. His next time out got even better. He absolutely destroyed the Houston Texans, and it only took him 6 minutes to do so. That's how far he got. The Colts were up 14-0 after 6 minutes of that game. He was concussed on a touchdown run, his second touchdown run of the game. He finished with 56 yards passing, and he was 3 for 35 on the ground as well with 2 touchdowns. The guy was just dominating the football game. They ended up winning that game, but that's not the true story that you took away from it. It was his elite athleticism and his ability to throw the football. That definitely stood out in that game. The next one, he missed the Baltimore game due to that concussion, and then he shows up against the Rams, and this is where his career has truly, I think, molded around this one game. He shows up against the Rams, and they're losing the whole game. And he shows up and leads an epic comeback to rally from down 23-0. He tied the game up with 2 minutes left, and he sent the game to overtime. They eventually lost that game, but that was 100% the moment where everyone should have realized this guy's here to stay. There have been plenty of quarterbacks who have gone through their struggles early on in their career, gone through their struggles early on in a football game, but not many of them turn around and have a performance like that in the second half where they carry a team back and try to win a football game and give them a chance to win the football game. That's exactly what he did. This was a major moment for him in his third-ish ever start of his career. He really came alive, and that was a moment where I think everyone realized he's a fantasy football sensation as well as a legit NFL quarterback. Final game of his short-lived rookie season, They took on the Tennessee Titans. He started 9 of 12 for 98 yards, led the Colts to a lead. They were up 10-6 with the ball, and he got hurt. Landed on his shoulder. Season was over. But there's a bright spot to this, right? He's fully healthy now. He took the whole offseason, had shoulder surgery, really had to reconstruct his game because of that, and he showed up during training camp and was just fine. He's slinging it 60 yards down the field. His athleticism is still there, and he looks like a guy that had a completely full recovery, played in the Colts' first preseason game. Wheels are up for Anthony Richardson now this year. So let's talk about the reasons why you have to be optimistic going into the season for Anthony Richardson. So the first reason, he has an alpha wide receiver in Michael Pittman Jr., a guy who carried their passing game a year ago with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. He just became a clear number one wide receiver in the NFL, and a guy who I think is just at the beginning here. And now he gets the opportunity to have a quarterback with a much stronger arm, a guy who can actually game break. And I think that's what Michael Pittman needs to expand his game even more. More weapons, as I mentioned, for the Colts. They drafted Texas wide receiver A.D. Mitchell in the second round. Really good wide receiver prospect. Kind of gives them exactly what they need, especially in the red zone. If there's one area that Michael Pittman has clearly struggled, it's scoring touchdowns. A.D. Mitchell has done a great job of that during his time at Texas and Georgia. The other big thing with him is in the biggest moments in the college football playoff, that guy was absolutely dominant for Georgia and Texas. He could be a legit weapon for this offense. Oh, and the other part about this is everyone forgets the fact that Jonathan Taylor basically missed the entire first 4 games of the season and then was kind of getting himself worked back into action as the season progressed. And now Anthony Richardson actually gets to play with Jonathan Taylor. That duo has a chance to be one of the best duos in the entire league, and for sure one of the most effective short yardage duos and red zone tandems we have seen in a long while. The final factor for Anthony Richardson is his head coach, Shane Steichen, who was super impressive last year, guiding the Colts to a strong season. They were one play away, essentially, from making the playoffs in that close loss to the Houston Texans. And the big thing with him is he's an ace play caller. This is a guy who's going to put Anthony Richardson in the best positions to succeed. He's done it everywhere he has been. And just look at Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni after Shane Steichen left. They're having problems while the Colts are absolutely emerging. The time is now. If you're going to buy your stock in Anthony Richardson, now is that moment. Whether it's in fantasy football or in real NFL football, this is a guy that can absolutely play and change a franchise, and I expect that he's going to do that for the Indianapolis Colts during the 2024 season. Thanks for listening. This has been Ball Boy NFL.